Chada
Chada
Talks,
Talks,
episode 2.
episode 2.
We've got our liquid gold ready.
Yeah, liquid gold. Right, okay, second episode. We are going to talk about learning English and how to improve your English, mostly on pronunciation and speaking.
Yep, absolutely. I've been an English teacher for about 6 years.
Really? You've been there for 6 years?
No, I lived in Thailand before Vietnam and I was teaching there too. And teaching online as well. I've taught students from Thailand, China, and mostly Vietnam. In Vietnam, I've taught, I'd say, over 3,000 different students in total. It's got to be, yeah, including the amount of cover classes I've taken, the amount of different schools I've worked in. I've spoke to a lot of students in Vietnam. So I've got quite a good grasp of what Vietnamese people are good at with English and what they should improve on as well. That's something that we can discuss in the video a little bit too. Let's begin with your story anyways. How old were you when you first started learning English?
Officially learning, I went to a very good school when I was young. First grade, second grade, and fifth grade, what do you call it? Junior primary school. I went to the school called Nguyen Siêu. Shout out to Nguyen Siêu for giving me a very good education. I officially studied English when I in first grade. So I got this book. It's called Let's Go.
Let's go.
Let's go. I think it's published by Cambridge.
Okay.
So I think it's American English.
No, it's British. Cambridge is from the
Cambridge
UK.
English. Oh, okay. So I think it's British English.
Most of the books here are British English. I think Cambridge has a cartel on the English
Monopoly.
Yeah.
Capitalism.
They run that.
Funny thing though, most of the book here is like British English, but we learn American English.
Yeah.
How does that even mix?
The main differences with British English and American English are things like, in British English we have a letter U with words like colour and favourite, and then other words like authorize or criticize. In British English we use the letter S at the end instead of American English where they use a CZ.
Oh, Z,
or a
all right.
Z, as they call it in America.
Z, Yankees. So, at first I didn't understand anything. It's like listening to like random sound. I know Tao is apple. That's what I first learned. Tao is apple. Gam is orange. Zuho is watermelon. But fruits. Before that, there's something we want to talk about today called passive learning. It's when you learn by not doing anything at all. When I was younger, I used to watch this channel called Cartoon Network.
Cartoon Network's huge. I used to watch Cartoon Network too.
Yeah, Cartoon Network and Disney Channel. But back then, I like Disney Channel more because they have subtitles so I can read, I can understand. But most of the time, I can't read that fast.
Passive learning, that's basically how kids learn from the age of 0 to about 3 or 4, isn't it?
Yeah, they
Just
watch
learning.
their parents. They heard the word "ang," and when you talk to children, you say "nom," "nom nom," and they just realize in their head, okay, when my parents say that, and I got food, it means this is "ang." This is how I understand it. It's putting food in your mouth.
That's basically how I learned Vietnamese because I never took any lessons.
Oh, really?
I just learned from hearing or reading menus and things like that. In a way, it's quite passive. That's why my Vietnamese level is like a 4-year-old.
No, your Vietnamese level is like better than 60% of the foreigner I met. Because you're actually putting effort in learning.
I'm not.
You're putting effort in passive learning. That's better than like 60% of foreigner I met. The guy lived here for like 12 years, doesn't speak a word of Vietnamese. You only know Xin Chào is hello, and he still use Xin Chào.
Says it in the wrong way, right?
Yeah, he said it the wrong way, but Vietnamese does not, we don't use Xin Chào. We don't.
Yeah, they say Chào Ba or
All right.
Chào An, Chào Ang.
Yeah, back to Cartoon Network. Back then, when I watched, like, even before I started grade 1, it's like gibberish to me. I don't understand anything. So, how I learned, back when I was a kid, I like to mimic. a lot of things. Basically what kids do, they mimic a lot of things and they learn from that. So I saw a character getting orange juice and I hear the phrase that they talk. I don't understand the thing, but I hear the phrase that they say when they talk to each other about getting orange juice. And then I mimic how that character speaks.
How do they say it?
Dude, I don't even remember. The only thing I remember is the orange juice.
Okay.
It's like a core memory in my head right now. And when I go to school, I actually go to school and I study at school. And when I go to the English Center, I study at Mastermind. Shout out to Mastermind for making me the person I am today. Shout out to Mastermind. Right?
Do they still exist?
Yeah, they still exist.
Oh.
It's a very long...
Free advert for Mastermind.
Yeah, free advert for Mastermind. Go there. They have very good education. When I go to school, I heard something similar, and I'm like, okay. And the teacher translating Vietnamese, and I'm like, okay, this is how you say it. This is how you pronounce it correctly, and this is what it means. That's my first attempt passive learning English. What about you, man?
Learning English?
Yeah.
I'm in the UK,
yeah,
so...
I know. But you're born in the UK, so you learn English the same way I learned Vietnamese.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't remember ever learning grammar. We probably did, but I just don't remember learning it. It just came so naturally, like the way to speak and everything. I do remember learning phonics, so learning the way to say a word and pronouncing words correctly. I remember we had these separate classes where we would practice phonics more in individual smaller groups. So that was always a good way to brush up on your phonics. That was when I was about 6 or 7. I think a lot of kids, before they go to school, they potentially have some issues with their English. I know a lot of kids, they can't pronounce their sound, or their S's are a bit weird. So I think that's something that when we are in primary school or, infant, we learn that a little bit better. But then when it comes to learning Vietnamese, I've been to a few Vietnamese classes recently, but most of it is all just talking to people, reading things. The hardest thing I think with Vietnamese is the pronunciation and understanding other people.
Yeah.
So the thing with pronunciation, and this is a hard thing, but once you understand the pronunciation of Vietnamese, it's easy to pronounce words because there's a rule to it. Whereas with English, there's no rule.
Can you give me an example?
So for example, like O-O, right?
O-O?
Like the O-O sound, ooh.
Oh, ooh.
In food, it's ooh, food.
Yeah.
But in good, it sounds like oh, right? But it's still the same letters. That's one example. There's actually a funny meme that will stick somewhere in the blank space.
If we find it.
Yeah. And it says the word potato. And it says that it can be written like this if you pronounce the words in a certain way. Because let me see if I can pull it up. I want to see if I can find it. It makes sense about English. The thing is with English is so many sounds can sound different depending on what the word is, because English is just a melting pot of different languages. It's things that come from Sanskrit, from Swedish, from Germanic languages, from Latin, from French. So many languages that have just come together to form one language. I
watched this documentary. It's called The War That Made the English Language. So basically, back when the English ruled themselves, before the Normans came, before what is the name? Edward the Conqueror? No, it's not Edward. Something the Conqueror.
William the Conqueror.
William the Conqueror. William Conqueror is not English. He is French, but his family line originally came from Norway. He's a Viking. So that's why they call it Normandy, land of the Normans, the Vikings.
Okay.
So when he beat, what is his name? Godwin the First, then he take over England. So there are basically two languages in England. So there's a language of the nobility, which is what the Normans speaks. And there's a language of the peasant, which is like the people who got conquered, the Anglos who got conquered. So
The Anglo-Saxons.
Yeah, the Anglo-Saxons. So they have a peasant would eat a cow, but a nobleman would eat beef.
Beef comes from the French word.
Yeah.
But
A peasant would eat a pig, but a nobleman or a merchant would eat pork.
so it was just rebranded.
Yeah, a peasant would enter a room, but a nobleman would enter a chamber. So it's basically, at first, English are already mixing up when the identity of England is forming. It's already a mix.
I found that meme, the correct way to spell potato. If GH can stand for P as in hiccup,
Yeah.
and OUH can stand for O as in dough, and PHTH can stand for T as in tissus, and EIGH can stand for A as in neighbor, and TTE can stand for T as in gazette. If EAU can stand for O as in plateau, then the correct way to spell potato would be, look at the bottom. So that's why English is kind of difficult to pronounce if you see a word that you don't know how to say it. There's no real rule on how to say it, except for if you look at the pronunciation alphabet thing there is.
Vietnam?
No, in English.
Okay, I know what you're
There's
talking about.
an actual name for it, but I don't remember.
But I don't use it too.
Yeah, I don't use it.
I never
Like-
use it.
I know some people who are experts about that, and they teach based on that.
Yeah.
So there is that you can look at. But with Vietnamese, you've got your tones, your different zo. So you know what a word's going to sound like if you know the rules of the tones and the rules of how a letter sounds. Once you know that, you can quite easily read Vietnamese and speak it, and write it. But then the hardest part comes from listening and understanding.
Yeah.
For me, that's the hardest part. I can sing Vietnamese karaoke because I know the tones, but I don't know what the hell I'm singing, right?
Yeah, you can say it. You said you can speak, you can read the letters in the karaoke, right? Read something for me.
Find something.
Dude. Soy sao.
Soy xiao. Soy, you say soy, right? It's
Yeah.
the sticky rice.
Yeah.
XOI, the O has the,
Yeah.
I don't know what the name
little
is, the hat.
The little hat on.
And xiao, you said xiao, right?
Yeah.
Xiao, it's zosak.
Yes.
Yeah, XEO with zosak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One tip when you speak Vietnamese is not like English. Okay, when the word in English, when you finish a word, you have this, food. You can hear the back end of the word, right? But in Vietnamese, you say the letter and it cuts. So basically, English, if you say a word, you speak a word, is echo a little. But in Vietnamese, it ends right there.
I see what you mean.
Yeah,
So that's where when I speak to Vietnamese people and I'm like, food, they might say food.
Food. Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, but you have to pronounce the d a little bit more.
Yeah.
But then they might say food. But it's just like, no, it's food. Like, there's a d. I'd imagine it's like a D with the, what's the dot underneath called?
Yeah. It's
Kind of like that
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit. Because you kind of abruptly end it.
Okay, just imagine this. English is like when you cut off water from a pipe, there's still some little bit of water leaking out. But in Vietnamese, when you cut off a pipe, there's nothing coming out. There's like cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, just imagine that. All right, that's the best example we can pull.
So going back to your learning then, let's go back to when you were about 10,
Yep.
around that age. What was your English level like then?
When I was 10,
Were you learning English in primary school
yeah,
with a foreign teacher or with a Vietnamese?
Oh, with a Vietnamese teacher. But when I entered the English center, that's when I first came across my foreign teacher.
Okay.
Shout out to Mr. David. I still remember you.
That's probably 1,000 Mr. Davids.
Yeah, David from Australia. He's a little bald. He's quite funny and he's pretty old.
Let's hope he's still with us.
Yeah, let's hope he's still with us. Like more than 15 years ago, right? Dude,
So how old were you when you joined the English Center?
Oh, I joined English Center when I was in grade 3 or 4, or maybe
Okay, so
between
about
that.
8?
Yeah, something like that. So when I was 10, after 2 years of learning there, I can speak English. I can have casual conversations. I still have some like resemblance of a Vietnamese speaker. I can read English as well. I don't need to hear the word before I say it. I just read the word and then my head just work and then I can pronounce it.
It sounds like you learn quite quickly.
Yeah, 2 years.
Would this be related to your background of watching these cartoons that helped you?
Oh yeah,
How
definitely.
old were you when you were watching the
Definitely.
cartoons?
Dude, I don't remember. As soon as I
6?
can think, I can
5,
like,
6? Younger than that?
as soon as I can realize the world around me, I already watching Cartoon Network,
Which cartoons were you watching on Cartoon Network?
Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
But it's like
no speaking in
You
Tom
don't know
and Jerry.
speaking. Okay.
I think that's why it's so universally popular, like Mr. Bean.
Oh, Mr. Bean. Yeah, I watched
Yeah,
Mr. Bean.
okay.
Yeah, but on Disney Channel.
Mr. Bean was on Disney?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Mr. Bean. I watched Mr. Bean. I watched that show where there's a Grim Reaper and a kid with a very big nose.
I don't think I ever watched that.
Yeah. We're gonna put the photos up
Brothers
here.
Grimm, right?
Yeah, something like that.
I've heard of it, but I think that was a bit after my time. Because when I was growing up, I was watching Dexter's Lab,
Oh yes, Dexter Lab.
Cow and Chicken.
Cow and Chicken. Nah.
You never watched Cow and Chicken?
Nope.
Mama had a chicken, Mama had a cow, da-da-da-da-da-da. They don't know about. There's a cow and a chicken and their brother and sister, and their mum and dad are humans.
Nah.
Okay, that was a really good show. Also, Scooby-Doo. Shout out Velma.
Hey, we don't care what the Hollywood have been doing to Velma. She's still in our hearts. And the Velma we know is a redhead with glasses, and she's super smart.
I think Hollywood can do whatever they want to anything they want.
Come on, have you seen the new Velma?
Yeah, but I don't care. People are going on about it being so bad, but you should be able to do whatever you want creatively, and people are going to either like it if it's good or not like it if it's bad. But I feel like everyone should be entitled to create something if they want to create it. So,
Yeah.
And this one flopped, so
Okay,
clearly it didn't work.
take that.
Anyways,
Take
let's
your
move
point
on
of
because
view.
we'll argue about this another time. So you're watching these shows without subtitles, right? Unless
Yeah.
it was on Disney.
Unless on Disney.
So you were just grasping what they're doing and
Yeah.
picking up the language. I think that's why when you're a kid, when you're so young, you don't have much word association. I guess now if you're watching it and you didn't know much English, and you're watching an English cartoon, you're going to be translating everything you see in your own native language. Whereas when you're a kid and you're watching it, you don't really have the lexicon in your own language to decipher what something is, so you can really take more from the show that you're watching. When I was a kid too, my background's Kashmiri. In Kashmir, they speak a language called Patwari, which is like a village language, but it's based off of Urdu from Pakistan and Hindi from India and Punjabi. So it's kind of like a dialect from that region. When I was a kid, my parents would stick me in front of the TV and put on Bollywood movies. So that's how I picked up a little bit of that language when I was a kid. And I could speak a decent amount as well, because that's what my dad speaks, Patwari, so I could speak a bit of that from a young age. But then I didn't really use it because at home everyone speaks English, and in the UK everyone speaks English. I say everyone, about 95% of people speak English. So didn't really get much opportunity to use Patwari. But then for Vietnamese, I just learned it from speaking to people. I haven't really seen many shows in Vietnam because it's hard to find a show that I'm interested in. Of course, you've got things like TV shows. I don't really watch
Most of them
TV.
about like family drama, which never interests me anyway.
Yeah, because I think with English, you have so much choice on what to watch.
Yeah.
Most of the best movies are English.
Most of the best movie.
Most of the best TV shows are English.
Yeah.
I say best, I mean most of the popular.
Yeah, most of the popular
And there's
ones.
such a wide choice of it too. There's pretty much something for everyone. If you really want to learn about a specific topic in English, you can find it. Whereas in Vietnamese, it's a bit more difficult because there's loads of topics that they've either been translated directly from English or they just haven't been fully written in Vietnamese yet. There's definitely a lot to learn. I should probably try and look for things. There's one cartoon that is on Netflix in Vietnam, SpongeBob SquarePants, and you can actually get the Vietnamese dubbing. They speak in Vietnamese, and it is hilarious. I don't understand what they're saying so much because they're speaking in a southern accent, and and it's also using the characters' voices. So SpongeBob's like, Patrick, and like Patrick's like, SpongeBob.
You sound like Patrick, bro.
Yeah, so it's quite a lot like that, but in Vietnamese, and I was watching it with English subtitles. I'd sometimes watch that.
I live in the north.
Yeah.
I don't recall watching one that dubbed in a northern accent. I don't know why.
That's probably because the South is more popular for people to dub things. It's just whoever's doing that kind of thing. Am I right in saying the North is the political capital and the South is more the commercials? Most of the commercial enterprises and these kinds of things, they're going to originate from the south of Vietnam. It's probably a bit more difficult to get
make a lot of sense.
Foreign things in a northern accent. Back to you learning English. What age were you when you felt comfortable to speak freely and fluently?
Around 13 or 14. I started streaming How I Met Your Mother. And when I watched it, I actually found it funny. And like, oh my God, I can understand the jokes. And like, oh, wow. I watched like 9 seasons. One of the first foreign show I ever watched, and still today one of my favorites.
Is that how you learned your Riz from Barney?
Yeah. That's why it's so bad, right?
I mean, his Riz is good. I remember watching that show. We would try to copy Barney on a night out. He has a playbook. We were never doing plays as elaborate as Barney's.
Yeah.
But there were just things like where you just make up a story and like try and get your wingman to follow it along with you. And sometimes it would work.
I actually succeed using Barney's once.
Which one?
My ex.
No, which Barney playbook? I'm not saying which girl.
All right, the Count something.
The Count.
He made like a bunch of fake websites.
Oh.
Yeah.
I remember.
Something, this like Von Heberschmidt.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So you made a fake website saying you were famous?
No. I have a real website that's my photography. I'm a photographer.
If you want to book him.
Yeah, very good price. I do events, food shoot, drink, food and beverage, events.
Okay, you can stop plugging now.
Dude, come on. I'm trying
Pay
to
us.
get... Pay us!
Okay. All right, continue.
Yeah, I use my own website, my own social medias to raise her up, and I actually scored.
Nice.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Barney.
Barney.
That playbook.
Yeah, the thing that I really liked about Barney was the whole suit up concept.
Yes. He always looked fresh. And he's always on his best play, best mood. And his charisma.
His charisma.
On point. Always on point.
So you saw the show and you're like, wow, I understand these jokes. That must have made you feel a lot more confident about your understanding, your speaking. I feel like you get to a point in a language where once you know a decent amount, it accelerates your learning potential.
Yeah, it's accelerating.
A lot quicker.
So before that show, when I'm speaking English to a foreigner, this is the process of me actually understanding and replying to what they say. I hear what they said. I translate it into Vietnamese in my head, understand it, come up with an answer, translate the answer to English, and then say it. But after the show, after like a couple seasons, I just listen to listen to what they said in English, and then reply in English. It's like way less process and it's much faster and conversation go much smoother.
I guess that process just happens a lot faster without you having to consciously be aware of it. Once you consciously do it, after some time, it becomes a subconscious process.
Yeah, it's became a habit more than a task.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's the best way of learning, to learn without having to actively think about the translation in your head. I have a good friend called Mr. Kwang, and he's got a company called Fast English. And the way they learn English, I went to a couple of his events before. He does a 3-day event. The students, all Vietnamese, they're all adults. The first day, they can't speak a lick of English. 0. He does his event. After day 3, they're speaking confidently. They might not be saying things correctly or exactly right with grammar, but the point is they are speaking and they're understanding and they're confident enough to progress with the language.
Wow, you have like the process of what he put his student through?
A lot of it's to do with reprogramming your brain.
Reprogram your brain. How? He's like plugging into the matrix?
Not quite. It's just a really cool process. Some of it's to do with neuro-linguistic programming in a way. And just the way he teaches his lessons and the way that the students then come away and they're actually able to converse. It's mind-blowing. I'm not sure if he's still doing it. I'll have to look him up.
It is dude, we should invite him here.
Yeah.
And let him talk. I believe his process will help our viewers greatly. However, today, I'm going to share how I pronounce letters and words in English correctly.
I think that is very important. The thing with Vietnamese is that a lot of the words are one syllable.
Yeah.
Most of the sounds are one syllable, right? Syllable being the beat, like cow. Give me some words, man. My mind. Cha, da.
Yeah,
it's like
cha, da.
everything's one syllable. There's some consonant clusters that we have in English that you don't have in Vietnamese. When you have two consonants next to each other, like BL or SP.
Yeah.
Like blue, special.
Vegetarian.
That's not a consonant.
Right. I just think of the first word that came out of my head.
Professional. When there's two consonants next to each other at the start of the word. Tree.
Problem,
yeah. I sometimes hear it, especially with brand new learners who only just started speaking English. Instead of saying blue, they will say balu.
Yeah.
Because the bl sound doesn't come to them naturally.
Yeah, I understand the feeling. So basically what I do when I started learning English, for example, the word problem, right? So I see the word problem. Step 1, divide the word and know which letter is where and basically know how to write it down in your head first. Step 2 is actually pronounce it in Vietnamese. Lam. Come on, dude.
That's cool.
It is like baby step. I'm baby stepping.
It's good.
Okay. And step 3 is trying to say it quickly. Problem. Step 4 is pronounce it correctly with the how do you call the up and down in English? The rhythm.
Intonation?
Yeah, the intonation. It's not problem, it's problem. Last step is step 5 is add some attitude to it. Add problem, bro. Like we having a problem right now. Is adding your attitude, adding some emotion into the word so it sounds authentic.
Adding some MSG.
MSG. What? No.
Some flavor, bro.
Yeah, adding some flavor. Just imagine what situation you're in that you have to use that word and repeat it over and over in your head and say it out loud over and over again. You won't see an instant difference, but you do it constantly for every new word every day for like 1 or 2 years. Your English will improve significantly.
Do you remember any words that you struggled with?
Conversations.
Conversations.
Yeah, conversations.
How did you say it before?
Conversation.
Conversation. Yeah, you're basically just breaking it down.
Yeah, I'm
Instead
breaking
of saying it
down.
all in one smooth, fluid motion.
That is my method of pronouncing every single English word correctly, but there are specials. For example, psycho.
Psycho.
Yeah, the P is silent. For some special words, you have to remember, okay, the P is silent. Just say psycho, psycho. Ditch the P's.
And the H is psycho, not side jaw.
It's true.
But side jaw. And we'll be right back after this tea break.
So you got any tips for remembering grammars?
For remembering grammar, I don't think grammar is massively important unless you're doing it for a test or IELTS. I think if you're speaking to somebody, I think pronunciation is more important than grammar.
But you still need to know some basic
You still need to know the basics.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird if you mistake doesn't with didn't.
I don't think it's that much of an issue. To be honest,
Really?
yeah, I mean, listening to you speak, you have a few grammar-related issues.
Yeah, how many grammar mistakes have I made? Since we
I mean, I
started?
haven't been tallying it up or anything, but
A viewer might.
yeah, viewers, you can tell him if your English is really good, what mistakes he's made. But a few things like tenses, adding the ED pronunciation at the end of the word and things. But these are two things that, from me teaching English in Vietnam, is what I've noticed. Most students will struggle with the two pronunciation things, which are the S and the Z sound at the end of a word. The ending, if it's a plural word, for example, or if it just has an S at the end.
Plays.
Yeah, plays, classes, glasses, especially that one, the ES.
Yes.
There's a couple of pictures, images, so if you go onto Google or any other search engine, type in ending S pronunciation, there's a table that explains it perfectly. And the same with ED. Because certain words, it depends on if it's a voiced or voiceless ending consonant or ending sound. It has a different ED sound. For example, if the word ends in T or D, the ED is always an extra syllable, like wanted, needed. With other words, if it's voiceless, for example, a voiceless word is something that is just from your lips, like a k sound. Doesn't come from your voice box, it just comes from your mouth. Yeah, like talked. Talked. The ED sounds like a t.
Yeah, it sounds like a T.
Yeah. Also with things like the sh or s, they're coming from your mouth. For example, passed. P-A-S-S-E-D, like I passed him the, that has a t. Washed has a t because it's a sh. And then there's words that have a voiced letter at the end. For example, anything with a b, because that sound comes from your voice box here. B, l, m, n. Yeah, like calmed.
Oh, okay.
So that's always a d at the end.
D is a D.
Yeah. There's some tables that you can look at on Google that will help you a lot if you want to really practice your S's and EDs.
Correct.
Really useful. Breaking down the words, I think that was a good one. Saying it slowly
Yeah.
and then saying it faster. That's a really good tip for people who want to say longer words or words that they struggle with. For example, baloo. People do say baloo, baloo. Just break it down. Blah, blah. Say it individually, blah, 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 it will be a lot easier to say.
Okay, breaking down the words, say it correctly, watch more movies, English movie with subtitles. One of the things too is when you're like working out or working on like other things, put on a YouTube channel, an English YouTube channel that you enjoy. Learn from like Cartoon Network.
Or listen to our podcast.
Or music. Or listen to our podcast. Listen to what you enjoy and just let your brain take in the words and the way they talk the English naturally.
Yeah, that's a good way. Passively, right? While you're doing something else.
And you can do it actively too. Reading English books, like novels, self-help books, etc., etc. The sky is vast.
The sky's the limit.
Yeah, the sky's the limit. Yeah.
There's a lot of good e-readers that you can download on your phone and download some books. If you want to use your phone instead of buying books, phone's a really good tool for learning English. There's some good apps as well, actually. There's one called Cake. You heard of this app?
C-A-K-E?
Yeah.
Nah.
I remember seeing an advert for it. I downloaded it. I used it briefly, and it basically shows a clip from a TV show or something. And then they've got what they said on that clip in English, and it's breaking it all down for you and explains it. And I know a few of my students who've used that app as well before, and they find it to be very useful too. What about learning Vietnamese?
Learning Vietnamese.
There's some people I know who are really good at Vietnamese, foreigners, said that they used some apps that are made for Vietnamese people to learn English and just reversed it.
I would say to learn Vietnamese,
go to a BFA.
Christ, you don't want to learn what they say in those BRE. Gee.
I mean, I did.
Oh, go to Cha Da.
Yeah.
Much better.
Cha Da, yeah.
If you're a foreigner in Vietnam, you live here or just here on tour, I would say use Duolingo. I start learning like Spanish and French in Duolingo.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's still work in progress. And if you're staying here, if you're actually working here, I say the easiest way to learn is by doing it. Just hang out with your Vietnamese friend, get a Vietnamese friend, and hang out, talk to him, try to use as much Vietnamese as possible. Don't be shy. Use what you know and use it over and over again to like perfect it. And your Vietnamese will improve within months.
That's the one thing when I've spoke some Vietnamese to people, they assume that after I've said a couple of sentences that I'm fluent. So then they start coming at me with like Spanish Inquisition questions. And I'm just,
Oh, okay.
hard questions, and I'm like, dude, I have no idea. Today, on the phone, answer the phone like a Vietnamese.
Yeah.
Aloha. And then they think I'm Vietnamese from that moment. So it's like, I'm like, bro, I have no idea. And then I just say, okay. And then hang up.
Okay.
And most of the time I just assume that it's
It's a good thing.
a Shopee guy delivering my, my addiction tools.
Your addiction?
Yeah, I'm addicted to Shopee,
All right.
something to satisfy my addiction.
I would say when you're like in person with a Vietnamese person and you don't understand what they just ask them to say, hey, can you say that in English? And then chop it down to me what I'm listening.
Assuming they speak English though.
Dude, if you're a foreigner and you're a friend with a Vietnamese, of course that guy gonna speak English.
They might not. I've met several people who don't speak English. And we conversed via Google Translate.
Okay, find Vietnamese who can speak English then.
That's the thing though. I've got Vietnamese friends where I've tried to speak Vietnamese with them and they're like, dude, let's just speak English because I can't be bothered with this. I'm trying to explain a point. If I try to explain in Vietnamese, they're just like, we will save about 20 minutes if you just tell me in English. So people don't really have the patience for that. I think it's best to learn some by yourself and then just use it in situations where you have to use it. I learned quite a bit at restaurants, Vietnamese restaurants, markets, chadar places, talking on the phone with a shipper, learning with a few times actually. I've just spoke to the security guards outside Circle K or Vinmart. Yeah, there's a security guard actually in the Vinmart opposite the gym I go to. Anytime I go to that Vinmart, I'll always buy him a bottle of water because it's hot outside, and then we'll just talk a little bit. And then there used to be this homeless guy I used to see outside Circle K's quite often, and he spoke Vietnamese. He didn't speak English. But anytime I'd go to the Circle K, I'd be like, chua muat ongzi. And then he'd be like, sure. And I'd be like, có đường, ít đường, hay không đường. And he'd be like, có đường. I'd be like, are you sure, bro? I want to get you the healthy one. but I'd get him the one with sugar, get him a snack or something. If you want to learn yourself, it's always cool to speak to some of these dudes who are just sitting outside, like security guards are a really good one to speak to because they'll always give you some time. They're always excited to be speaking to somebody in Vietnamese. I guess most of the time people don't even speak to them. Yeah. They probably get so bored. Staff in restaurants and things. I've tried to order before in restaurants and then the staff's just like, dude, just speak English. I'm like, okay, can I have a coffee, please?
So what you're saying is start with small talks.
Small talk.
And then when you learn more, you can reach out to a longer conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always a question that anytime I used to use Grab bikes, they'd always ask,
Grab bikes are very talkative.
They're very talkative, but they always ask you if you have a wife.
Oh, yeah, for their age, it's an okay way to start a conversation. Yeah, that's a good way to start a conversation too, not like
in Vietnam.
Not asking about your spouse is starting a conversation with a question.
Yeah.
About the other person, a personal one. Well, not that personal, jeez.
What, if you have a wife yet? Yeah, they always ask that. They don't ask you like first of all, but if they see that you speak a little bit, they'll be like, "Có vợ chưa?" And I'd be like, "Chưa." And then I'd be like, "Bạn có vợ chưa?" And then he'd be like, "Có or chưa," and then maybe speak a bit more. I really would like to learn more Vietnamese. I've been attending some Vietnamese classes that are quite beginner level just to hone in on my pronunciation. Yeah, it's more about giving myself a kick up the backside to actually go out and learn more. Because sometimes I'm like, I know enough to get by. I know how to order food to my exact specifications. Nice. When we went to eat the Bún Bò Huế restaurant, I was like, I got this, bro. let me do this. And then ordered it, and you were like, bro, that was pretty good.
It was pretty good, yeah. I was surprised.
Because when it comes to food, I gotta have it my way. I can't just eat the same as everybody else.
Yeah, it's good to order in a custom order.
Yeah, but I did get some funny looks when I went to a pho restaurant. I goes, can I get pho but with no noodles? I goes, no noodles, extra beef and extra veg. And he goes, no, you can't have that.
Yeah, we paid you this.
I was like, dude, I'm going to pay you extra. He was like, no, you have to have noodles. I'm like, fine, just give me a little bit then. But I was kind of happy that I had the noodles because they taste good. They're not bad and they're not that unhealthy for you. I just wanted a bowl of beef, vegetables and broth.
Tell me your personal view about pho. Pho. But say it in Vietnamese.
Okay. Anh thích phở.
Okay.
Phở là rất ngon. Khi sức khỏe không tốt, phở rất rất tốt cho sức khỏe mạnh hơn. Nhung, anh thích bún bò Huế nhiều hơn. Bún bò Huế ngon hơn phở.
No.
Có mà.
No.
Okay, phở là, how do you say boring again? Chán, right?
No, don't say first boring.
How do you say it?
Chán.
Chán, yeah. Phở là ít chán. Nhưng bún bò Huế có nhiều thịt và random.
Random
How do you say random?
in Vietnamese.
Yeah.
Ngẫu nhiên.
Ngẫu nhiên. Ngẫu nhiên.
Yeah.
Bro, you say vanga to me.
What?
Don't say to me, bro. I'm older than you.
Don't give me that.
Không lịch sự. Okay, the bún bò Huế, bro. The first time I had bún bò Huế was in Huế.
Okay, that's pretty legit.
Even in Hanoi, you got some legit bún bò Huế places. The thing I like about it, that makes it better than pho, is you have all kinds of mystery meat in there. You have beef, right? But then you have some balls, and then you have like some long thing, and then you have like a cow's foot or something. What's it called? Like mongjo or something like that? I don't remember the name of some of the things, but you just have an assortment. You got your chopsticks. You're like, oh, what's this? I have no idea.
I don't know what it tastes
like.
like.
It tastes pretty good. Oh, what's this? Oh, nice. But with pho, you just got like, oh, what's this? Noodles. Oh, what's this? Beef. Oh, what's this? Spring onion. Bro, after 3 bites, you've had the whole thing. But with bún bò Huế, every bite is different.
That's a good point, though. But I don't agree with it. But it's still the best to me, man.
We should do a poll. So comment below. We'll put a pinned comment on this video.
Yeah.
And I want you guys to comment whether you like bún bò Huế or pho more. Which one do you prefer?
You're from Hanoi. I know what your answer is.
To be honest, I've met people from Hanoi who prefer bún bò Huế because they think it's more flavorsome.
Yeah, it is. Most people in Hanoi eat pho for breakfast. It's simple, it's quick, it's fast.
So is
they
bún
can
bò
go
Huế,
to
bro.
work. Bún bò Huế took way longer to make, and it's more expensive.
To make, oh yeah, to make, I guess. To eat, it takes like the same time.
It's more expensive too.
Is it?
Yeah, like bún bò Huế is like a good one with like with your like a bunch of
Mystery
random
meats.
mystery meats. Around 65, 70K, maybe
get it cheaper
80
than
to
that.
100.
You get it cheaper than that though. But the way I
Yeah,
eat it,
60
it's
to
usually about
65 are like the
about
cheapest.
80 with like
And
tempted.
for pho, it's like for pho, it's like 40K is like the top.
Nah, dude, you can get pho for like
I know,
80.
but for like you can eat for breakfast,
Okay.
like 40K. 40K, dude. This pho place next to my house sold for 25. So eat it
It's
fast.
probably not
eat
that
it
good
cheap.
though, is it?
Go. Oh, it's actually really
For
good.
25k?
Yeah, it's really good.
Did you get like one piece of beef in there?
Come on, dude. I ate there for like 10 years.
How much beef do you get though?
A lot.
For 25k?
Yeah.
Sure it's
Enough.
beef?
Enough.
You sure it's beef?
What?
Are you sure it's beef?
It is. It tastes like beef, but you can, if you pull it up, you can see through it. We should close the episode.
Yeah, alright.
All right.
Thank you
Cheers,
for watching
guys.
this one.
Thank you for
Good
watching
luck
this
on learning
one.
your English as well.
Yeah. Comment down below where are you at learning English and which one you prefer, pho or bún bò.
Also, I want to know how much percent of the podcast did you understand?
Oh yeah,
Bạn
that's
hiểu
true.
bao nhiêu phần trăm khi chúng mình nói chuyện?
It's hiểu, not he.
Bạn hiểu bao nhiêu
Yes.
phần trăm khi chúng mình nói chuyện?
Đúng rồi.
Đúng rồi. Ok. Hẹn gặp lại.
Right. See ya.